One more thing that I have to say about this global civilization is the kind of organizational structure on which it has been constructed. And that organizational structure is what I call the hierarchical pyramid. The hierarchical pyramid is a very stable structure, and it has the capacity to draw energy towards its pinnacle. I am not talking something mysterious. If you look at any hierarchical pyramid, you will see that at the base there are a large number of people who delegate their powers to levels above, and it comes right to the top, where there is ultimately one person who exercises all that power that the pyramid has concentrated in his or her hands. Now, the minority, on the other hand, has always been very concerned about the nature of life and the nature of the world, and it has been very concerned about how it relates to its environment, because it sees its environment as itself, and it sees itself as part of its environment and as having been generated by its environment, and that therefore its environment and itself are so closely connected that the one cannot possibly survive without the other. And these people have for a long time been concerned with the question of, in such a context where we are a part of our environment and where our environment has generated us, and where therefore we cannot look at our environment as something that can be used or consumed, in this kind of a context, what exactly are we supposed to do? What exactly is the purpose of human being? And if we look at the organizational structure that they have adopted, it looks like a network. And we can see that the network in many ways is very much a part of our environment. So in that sense, they have merely adopted the organizational principle that seems to be widespread within the world that has generated us. Now, why I am telling you this is because I have been listening to some of the scientists who are engaged in the challenging work of trying to perceive pathways that will lead to the transformation of this global civilization into a more sustainable one. And I can see that they have their work cut out for them, and I can see that they are laboring against serious and significant odds. One of the problems that they face is the fact that what they say appears not to be taken seriously by those who sit at the apex points of these pyramids and who make the decisions, who decide what the future is going to be. So I see these scientists beginning to get a little frustrated because they are pointing out situation of much concern, I would say a dangerous situation, and nobody seems to be bothered about it. Occasionally one hears of world leaders getting together for a conference. Sometimes one hears them making some some reasonably sensible statements. Occasionally one hears some inspirational utterances. But when it comes to concrete action, when it comes to carefully thought out responses that can be sustained and which are themselves sustainable, I have not seen any work in this direction that I can honestly say is credible. And what I want to say to all these scientists and to all these concerned people is that if we are serious about perceiving and formulating and initiating and supporting and sustaining credible responses to the problems that we face, specifically to this problem of global warming, which threatens not the planet but the human species with extinction, then what I am saying to them is that all these people who are able to some extent, to whatever extent, to perceive the world as an ongoing process must be linked together using the same principle of networking that they have used right along, and they should be asked to engage in the task of linking up their minds through this network and collectively perceiving possible responses to this species threatening problem that we face and possible pathways to a credible and sustainable future for as many of us as possible. Now, this is something that has been very clear to me for a long time. And it is something that I have discussed at various levels. And the reason why I am putting this up in the public domain right now is because at last, after many years, after a couple of decades in fact, I see some of these scientists having made an attempt to generate a global network for precisely the purposes that I just described. And I'm talking about the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network that has been generated just a few months ago and which now functions with Dr. Jeffrey Sachs as its first director. I hope that those who are involved in generating this network will waste no time in linking up with this small minority that is able to perceive the world as a process and engage them in the task of perceiving possible responses to this crisis and possible pathways to a credible future. That is the most important task that this Sustainable Development Solutions Network faces right now.